Welcome, welcome, welcome. I'm so excited that it is finally Thursday night and that we're here and we get to talk about part 2 of Miracle-ology. Because, you guys, I have been so excited about this and I think I pushed all the right buttons, and I'm going to make sure that my camera is nice and clear here because I want to make sure that nothing disrupts our time to talk tonight, because I'm here to talk to you. Yep, you. I'm here to talk to you because what I've been thinking about that needs to be shared, I know it's affecting you, because I personally like to put myself in a place that I can understand what people are going through, what you're going through. And so I'm here to talk to you tonight. Yeah, just you. You're the one I'm here to talk to tonight. And so I got to tell you a story. So if you don't remember, my name's Ann Washburn, and I'm so glad you're here tonight. So please, in the chat, this is how you and I get to communicate tonight. And so please, in the chat, tell me what your name is and where you're from, because it's going to be you and me talking tonight. And I hope you're good with that, because I have some things that you need to hear that are going to help you, because in my life, I've had to choose what I stand for. And what I've realized that matters a whole bunch to me is people's level of freedom in their life. I want you to have more freedom in your life. And because I know what it feels like to not have very much freedom in my life. I know what it feels like to not have freedom in my mind space, to not have freedom in my heart space, even to not have freedom in my physical space, my body, and my home, my surroundings. And I know what that bondage feels like. And it's not very fun. So tell me in the chat, what does bondage feel like to you? What area of bondage have you felt in your life? Have you felt the mental space bondage? Have you felt the heart space? Debt, there's a great one. The ball and chain, trapped, underwater, buried, heavy. What are the words? And every word that comes to mind, you can type it there. Choked, yeah. The bondage in the heart and in the head, yeah, all of those. And that bondage, yeah, every time you come up with a word, type it. Because when we keep things, there's a good one, addiction to a game, right? When we keep those things inside our head, they actually have more power over us. And so I want you, tonight, the way you and I get to interact through this miracle of the computer, that my computer is sitting here on my desk and my camera looks at me and it takes that image and it puts it through to your phone or your computer. And that miracle, the way you get to communicate back with me is through this chat right here, through the comments section. Okay. And so put those words down, because every time you put a word down, it actually helps it. And I'll explain more of why it helps, but it actually increases your freedom. It increases the level of freedom you have in your life. And so I've carved out this time in my schedule because I want you and I to be able to communicate tonight. And so I love it. Put all of those words down in the chat. Sorrow, physical pain, heartbroken, tangled, suffocated, addiction, extra weight, work, choked, heart, all of those. Oh my gosh. Overwhelmed, tired, lonely, lost. Great words, you guys. I just feel the weight of those words. And so who I am is somebody who it's not okay with me to watch that in the world, because in my past 12 years ago, who I was, is different than who I am today. And so I know very much what it felt like to be in real heavy bondage 12 years ago. And I found ways to get out of that bondage. And so it became not okay with me to watch people who were still in bondage, Because 12 years ago, I started my journey of becoming a body language expert. And as a body language expert, I had to choose what I was going to do with that superpower, because that the superpower of being a body language expert means I can see things in people that other people can't see. And so was I going to use that for the dark side, or was I going to use that for the light side? And what I chose was I was going to stand for freedom, because I can see bondage in your body language. I see it in your body language. Hey, Ronelle is joining us from the Philippines. I'm so glad to see you. Welcome, welcome. And so put those words in the chat, in the comments tonight. Let's communicate, because my desire in my life, my dedication of my life in these last 12 years has been to your freedom, to be able to help you have more freedom in your head space, your heart space, your body, and your surroundings, because we need more of it. We need more of that. And so when I ask you questions, write the words in the chat. When you think of how it feels to be in bondage, put the words in the chat. Just that's where you and I are communicating tonight. Cool? Agreed? All right. Because I gotta start with a story. I gotta tell you something that happened to me recently, because I recently got to do something that has been on my vision board for several years. For several years, I have wanted to go to Hawaii, and I have never been to Hawaii. I've been to a lot of other places in the world, but I never been to Hawaii. And there was lots of reasoning in my head, lots of reasons why I had never actually gone to Hawaii, and it had never happened. Well, 2 weeks ago, I just got back from going to Hawaii for the first time. Oh, coolest thing, so cool. Well, while I was there, a month before I went, I got online and I got the tickets to go on a hike. You have to have a ticket to go on and hike what's called the Nepali coast. So you guys that have been to Hawaii, you know probably what the Nepali coast is. I didn't know. I just heard that I needed to get tickets. So a month before we went, you have to get the tickets at midnight Hawaii time, a month before you want to go, because the tickets sell out within just a couple of minutes. So I got up in the middle of it was midnight Hawaii time is 4 a.m. where I'm at. And so I had to get up in the middle of the night to get these tickets. And it's probably in the middle of the night in the Philippines right now. And so you know what I'm talking about. You got up in the middle of the night to be here tonight. And so I got up and I got these tickets. I was super excited. Well, the day before we were supposed to go on this hike, I had the hike tickets for me, my husband, and for my son, because my son, who just graduated, he went to Hawaii with us as kind of a graduation trip. And so I had the tickets for the three of us. And the day before we went, my husband got super, super sunburned. Oh, he got so sunburned that he could hardly move. My son and I were also sunburned, but not as bad as my husband. And so he woke up the next morning and he's like, there's just no way I can't go. I can't go on this hike. And it's a pretty severe hike. Let's just call it that. It's not one that you just stroll down the beach or anything like that. I mean, you are going like up the mountain and down the mountain and up the mountain and across the river and back across the river and across the river. And I mean, it's a lot of sun and it's a lot of hike. So he didn't get to go with us. So that was the first thing that happened. That was not as planned. Okay. It wasn't as planned. He didn't get to go with us. So we get there and we got there early so that we could go before our ticket time. Because it said on their website that if you come early, you can go early on the hike. And we wanted to get there earlier because it was going to be hot during the day. Well, we got there, and the next thing that happened is the person where you park the car was not in a good mood. She was not having a good day. And so she directed us and she's like, stops us and she goes, do you have tickets? And I'm like, yes. And she goes, do you have tickets for, I think it was 9:00. And I said, well, we have tickets for 9:30. And she goes, okay, you park right there, but you can't go yet. You do not get on this bus. Do not get on this bus. She was just grr, 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 grr. Have you ever interacted with somebody like that before? That they're just not having a good day and they don't want you to be nice to them? Have you ever met somebody like that? She did not want us to be nice because we wanted to try and be nice, but she just didn't, she wouldn't have it. So we have to sit there, and we waited in the sun with our sunburns for almost 45 minutes till it was time for our shuttle. So we get up there, and then we're going on this beautiful hike, and we get through the first 2 miles of the hike, because it's there's 2 miles to the place that most people turn around. And my son and I look at each other and we're like, that was a hard hike. Do we want to do the next 2 miles where we hike up the mountain and across the river to get to the big waterfall? And my son and I look at each other and we're like, yeah, we want to do it. But then we look in our pack, and I had accidentally, here's the next thing that happened that went wrong. I had left most of the food and water in the car back where we had parked the car. So I'd packed all this food and all this water, and I had left it back in the car. And how would you feel? How would you feel if you were in the middle of the hike and you had dropped the ball? And my son's like, oh, I'm so hungry. It's lunchtime. And I'm like, the food is back at the car. And we're in the middle of this jungle. It's not like there was a 7-Eleven that we could run over to and get some food. There was like nothing out there. And so that was the next thing that happened. And so here we are. My son and my husband couldn't come. We dealt with this grumpy lady that parked us. I'd left all the food. And now we're hiking up to the waterfall, and we keep passing. It's raining at this point, and we keep passing these people that go, you should not go to the waterfall. You should stop. You should turn around. And I'm like, no, I think we want to go to the waterfall. And they're like, oh. I even passed this one lady that she like almost grabbed me on the trail. And she's like, you have to stop. And she's got these two teenagers. You know, there's one that was probably 11 and one that was probably 13 that were her kids that I saw behind her. And they're like kind of embarrassed because they're like, I can't believe my mom is stopping people and telling them they should not finish this hike. Have you ever wanted to do something really bad, and yet people keep telling you not to do it? They keep telling you you can't do it. Has that ever happened to you? Or am I the only one? Am I the only one that's ever had somebody that just was really hard trying to stop them from doing something they really wanted to do? Oh yeah, that's right. I forgot, you can raise your hand. If you're on Zoom, there's a raise your hand button. Raise your hand if you've ever had somebody try to stop you from doing something you really wanted to do. If you're on YouTube, just put it in the chat. Just say, yep, me. People have tried to stop me, right? Okay, so not all of us, about a third of us have had people that were just like, I really wanted to do something, and they just tried to stop us. This lady, she was so funny. I'm just hiking up, and she's like ahead of us before she sees us coming. She's like, you're going too fast. Slow down. And I'm like, I'm just walking. What are you talking about? And as she gets closer, she's like, stop. And I'm like, why? What's going on? And so I just keep walking because I'm watching her kids behind her that are like, oh dear, why is she stopping them? And so she couldn't stop me because I'm like, it's okay. We'll be okay. We're going to keep going to the waterfall. She couldn't stop me. So then she tried to stop my son behind me. She grabs him and she goes, you have to slow down. It's not safe up there. You're going to cause a problem. That's what she was saying to us. And now my son is like, Mom, are we going to cause a problem? I'm like, no, we're not causing a problem. We're going on our hike. We're going on our hike. And so when somebody tries to stop you from doing something that you've planned, because remember, we planned this hike for a month. We had to get the tickets for this hike a month in advance, and I'd planned it well before that. When people try to stop you, what does that feel like? Okay, I want you to connect with me here and tell me in the chat, what does it feel like? What does it feel like to you? Because I went through a whole bunch of emotions. So the first thing I was annoyed because I was like, why is she trying to stop me? Yeah, confusion, betrayal, frustration. Frustration was my second one. I'm like, so I'm annoyed, then I'm frustrated. Then I even was like a little bit angry. I'm like, why are you trying to tell me I can't do something? Right, upset, scared, doubting, betrayed, great words, discouraged, worried. Yeah, that's how I was feeling. I'm like, you know what? Maybe I can't do this. And so I had these outside people influencing my mental space. They were changing my mental space, these outside people. And it was causing me to question myself. And so one of the biggest emotions I started to feel was that because I was questioning myself, I started to resent them. I started to resent this lady. And there was a part of me that wanted to turn around and tell her, we're fine. Quit telling us what to do. But my son, because she was trying to stop him, my son handled it so much better than I did. And I'll tell you the resolutions here in a minute. So we kept going up, and sure, it was slippery, and sure, it was hard, and crossing the river, I had my prescription sunglasses on, and I was going from boulder to boulder, and my prescription sunglasses came off and fell in the river below the boulders. So there's the next problem. So now it's slippery. People are telling us we can't do it. I have a situation where my sunglasses are going down the river, and it's like, maybe this isn't worth it. Maybe my goal wasn't worth it. Maybe this path is too much trouble. And so it was affecting how I felt. It was affecting how I felt about me. So let me share my screen with you. Let me share my screen. So what was going on is we have a space. We have a personal space. You do and I do, okay? We have a personal space. So take your hands, put them out to your sides as far as you can reach, and then do this with your fingers. Put them up like this. This is your personal space. See, and it goes this way and this way. Do it with me. Come on, you and me. We're just understanding, and this is part of the body language, right? So we're feeling our personal space. Okay. Do you feel your space? Well, who's in charge of what your personal space feels like? Who's in charge of that? Is it you or is it somebody else? So notice here so I want you to play with me. So there's a certain percentage of how my personal space feels that comes from inside of me. And there's another percentage that comes from outside people and circumstances. So there's inside and there's outside. And sometimes this inside is not very positive. So because I had these outside circumstances pushing in on my space, it caused me to question my space. So I just want you to to pick percentages for a minute. Don't worry, there's not a right and wrong answer, but there's 100% between the two of these. What's the percent that your space is affected by you? And what's the percentage that your space is affected by outside people and circumstances? So in the chat, just type for me. So like maybe it's 50-50. And so you would type 50-50. Or maybe you realize, and there's not a right and a wrong, maybe you realize that outside circumstances has more an effect on you than your inside. And so maybe it's 40/60, maybe it's 20/80, but put your number down. And then the percentage that's on the inside here. Now I want you to answer this. The percentage that's on the inside, how much of that is positive and how much of that is negative? Okay? How much of that is positive and how much is that is negative? Oh, Shauna, I am so sorry to hear that. I lost a beloved pet 2 years ago. I can so relate. Oh, I'm so sorry. Yeah, that's a good comment, right? What can it depend on the day? Sure, it can. But on average, or maybe just for today, what percentage of your influence on your space is positive? And what percentage is negative? Because for me, as I was going up this mountain, my percentage that was positive kept going down because the outside people were having an effect not only on my space, but on whether my influence was positive or negative. Do you follow me on that? We can, the influences on the outside of our space can actually influence the influence I have on my space. And so for me, what that looked like is when I started up the mountain, I was probably at 70/30. I mean, when I started on my drive, when that lady at the parking place was grumpy at us, she started to have a bigger percentage. And now I was up to maybe 50/50. So now when I got on the hike, my physical stamina was going down. We didn't have enough water. We didn't have enough food. So my physical was going down, which made it so the outside people had a more of an influence on me. So when I'm tired, when I'm hungry, this is why there's a term called hangry, right? Is because when I'm tired, when I'm hungry, those outside influences are going to have more influence on my space than I am. And so, we're kind of going deep and we're just a few minutes into this webinar. So are you following me? Because I just kind of had the feeling that you and me, we needed to go deep tonight. So are you good? Are you still with me? Yeah. Give me a thumbs up in the chat or raise your hand if you're still with me. Raise your hand so I know. Let's see where my raise the hand button is. There it is. Found it. Okay. Awesome. All right. So you're with me. So this is what was going on for me too. And that's why we're here tonight. That's where this started. Is I was going up this mountain and I realized that what was happening to me was a good analogy for what's happening to a lot of us on a daily basis right now. And so that's why tonight I wanted to talk about Miracle-ology Part 2. That's where we're at tonight. Because those of you that were with me in April, when I talked about Miracle-ology the first time, we talked about how we attract things into our lives. We attract positive or negative into our lives. And so we can be in charge of adjusting that attractive force in our life. And so that was Miracle-ology Part 1. So the things that I've learned from April to August, that's what we're talking about in Part 2. So we want to be the designer of our life, not just the consumer of it. So Part 2 has to do with what is your thermostat for success? Do you have a thermostat that says if you have too much success, you've got to attract situations to you to push that back down to where your thermostat is set? So like I have an air conditioner and I have a heater that are connected to my house. Oh, let's talk about my car. I have an air conditioner and a heater in my car, right? And I would adjust the thermostat to what felt comfortable to me. And so nowadays in cars, you can adjust the thermostat in the car. The passenger can adjust it one way and you can adjust it the other way. So you can have two different thermostats in the same car. And so like me, I'll adjust it down to 68 and my husband will adjust it up to 72 because I'm always hotter than he is. And that kind of sounded funny. I'm always hotter than he is. And so I'm always putting my thermostat at a different number than he is. But it made me wonder, how often do my husband and I have different thermostat settings when it comes to what we allow positive into our lives? Because growing up, we get a thermostat. Everybody gets a thermostat installed in them as they're growing up. And that thermostat causes you to have a setting that allows a certain amount of success in your life. And it will reject when too much success starts to happen. And the thing is that when we start to have too much success for our thermostat, we will have lots of self-sabotage that happens to put us back into our comfort zone. Because our comfort zone is where our thermostat feels the best. Right? Does that make sense? You've probably heard me talk about our comfort zone before, because I talk about it like this. So I'll share my screen with you again. That when we leave our comfort zone, the first step out of our comfort zone feels uncomfortable by definition. And so we will have all kinds of things that affect our space that will push us back into our comfort zone. So it's similar, but not the same to our success thermostat. If my thermostat is set higher than where my current success level is, I will attract success into my life. If my thermostat is set lower than my current success, I will self-sabotage in order to bring that back down. Now, if my husband's thermostat is set higher than mine, I will get resentful. I will get resentful because I won't feel comfortable in his level of success. And so I will try to pull down on him. I will now be the outside influence that's trying to change his personal space. So when we're married, we will push on each other until we either match our thermostats or until we can't handle it anymore and we separate. Personally, I like to match my thermostat to my husband's and then be consciously working on raising it. Because the reality is, if you ask people, I'm going to ask you right now, would you like things in your life to be better? It's a simple question. Yes or no? Would you like things to be better in your life? Yes or no? Okay, that's an easy yes. You could ask 100 people on the street, and they're going to tell you, yes, they would like their life to be better. But of those 100 people, guess how many of them, if you then asked them, oh, well, do you want to know how you can change you so your life is better? How many of them are going to say yes, do you think? Would you say yes? So I'll ask you. So you want your circumstances to be better. Would you like to know how to upgrade you so that your circumstances can be better? You want to, right? Oh, 10%, that's a good guess. Statistically, only 2%. So of the people that say yes, they would like to know, it's probably about 10%. Of those 10%, it's going to be only 2 people that are going to actually take action to better themselves. Only 2%. And so your head is being messed with. The news, the crafted messages, the confusion, other people, all of this is causing your headspace to be messed with. Your emotion space is being messed with. Everything is trying to push down on you, because when you interact with somebody who wants their circumstances to be better, but is not willing to take action to better it, then they will try to pull down on you. They will try to pull down on you. So now I'm getting ahead of myself. So let's go back. Let's go back to my screen and to my story. Let's stay on track here. So we have outside influences affecting our personal space. Okay. And it causes bondage, because if our space doesn't feel safe, then we will actually give up freedom, because we are in a fear response. We respond in fear. And when we respond in fear, then we feel powerless, not powerful. Okay, so outside influences is the first thing that's causing us to have a lowered thermostat. The next thing that's causing us to have a lowered thermostat is when there's parts of ourselves that we are not okay with. When we are trying to, now it's one thing to want to better ourselves. It's a completely different thing to want to shame ourselves or shame a piece of ourselves away so that we're better. We cannot reject ourselves into being a better person. We can't. You cannot reject yourself into being a better person. There's an old African proverb that says, the enemy is none other than the other within me. When we have a piece of ourselves that we hate, that we see as our enemy, and so we refuse it love, when we won't look at it and we refuse it love, we become a fractured version of ourselves. And a fractured version of ourselves does not feel safe. And when we don't feel safe, it causes our space to feel lower, to feel less than. And so that's causing a place inside of us that it's causing that place inside of us where we don't feel comfortable or worthy or deserving of success. And so we self-sabotage. So this is a lot. This is a lot that I'm pouring on you, but there's a reason for it. It's because our world is in crisis right now. And people won't accept themselves or where they're at. And so this right here, this represents those individual pieces. We're reflected in every individual piece of ourselves. But until when we try to reject those pieces of ourselves, we don't allow ourselves to feel whole, and we can't feel confident. We can't feel safe. We can't feel like we can move forward when we feel like we're a piece of ourselves. You've fallen prey to that, right? You compare yourself. You compare your worst quality to somebody else's best quality. And it's like, see, I don't measure up. And I wish I didn't have this piece of myself. You've done it because it's normal. It's normal for us to go around like that. But this is causing us to have a lowered thermostat. And so there's two pieces that I'm going to share with you tonight. There's two pieces. And if you read the emails, you saw them. I'm going to talk about two parts. I'm going to talk about when you are full of, and then I'm going to fill in this blank. Whoops, I can type. Or you don't understand the emotion of, you will have a lowered success, or we could call it a miracle thermostat. So the question is, who wants to raise their miracle thermostat? Who wants to be able to attract better things into their lives? Raise your hand for me if that's you. Because if it's not you, then we're having the wrong conversation and I need to adjust. But if you want to be able to raise your success thermostat, and you want to find out the two blanks in this question, when you're full of this, And when you don't understand the emotion of this, you will have a lowered success miracle thermostat. Okay. Okay. The majority of you. So we're having the right conversation tonight, you and me, because that's what I want is remember, I'm here for you. That's who I'm here for tonight is you, because I know how it feels. I know how it feels to not have the ability to move forward. So I'm going to ask you to do one thing for me. Every time I do a webinar and I talk to somebody, I ask you this. I say, hey, I want you to be willing to look at and see things differently. Well, tonight I'm going to cover up this word because I don't care about differently. I want you to be willing to look at and see things. I'm going to show you things that have been right in front of you that you haven't been willing to see. And the reason is because you've been duped. You have been tricked because the devil uses pacifiers to trick people into not opening their eyes and not seeing. And so tonight, I'm going to ask you to be willing to see things. That's it. I want you to look. I want you to see. Because sometimes I can point people right at something and they won't see it. It's called change blindness. We can have something right in front of us that we can't see because our subconscious is not ready to see it. So tonight, I know you're ready. I know you're ready because I felt it, because I've been thinking about you. And as I've been thinking about you, I could feel that you're ready to get out from under this blindfold that's been on top of you. So be willing. Are you willing? Tell me you're willing. Let me hear it. Say, I'm willing. It doesn't mean you'll just see it automatically, but I will show you. You and I will grab hands and I will walk you down the path and show you. And then when you're willing to look at and see things, then you got to choose a new action. Okay. And so I'm going to change this word right here to choose, because in our world, the way that we've been pacified and we've been lulled into what I'm going to show you tonight, because of that, we're not even ready for a whole commitment, but we got to be willing to just choose something. So I'm going to ask you to be willing to look at and see things and choose a new action. So you told me you're willing. Will you also, at the end of this webinar, choose a new action? Will you do that? Because your future self is waiting for that. Your future self is waiting for you. Remember, the enemy is none other than the other within. Well, your future self is an integrated version of yourself who's waiting, who trusts you to try this. Because new knowledge has an expiration date, right? Everything I'm going to teach you tonight, if you don't use it, it's like lettuce. It's going to expire in a few days. So you got to use it now. You got to use it now. So if you don't use it, it will expire and it'll have to be relearned. Okay. So pinky promise. Okay. We have a commitment. I'm going to show you things. You're going to look at them and you're going to choose your new action. Cool. All right, cool. I'm glad we could spend this time together. And so because of that, when we're done talking, I'm going to give you a free gift. Do you like presents? I'm going to give you a gift for being here. And I'll even show it to you. There it is. There's the gift for being here. So you get to look forward to that, right? Do you like presents? I like presents. I think they're really fun. So I have a gift from you. I have a gift for you at the end of this webinar. So there are powerful upgrades that come from understanding the science of miracles and learning and seeing the things I'm going to show you tonight. We can feel happier. We can access new levels. Stop the self-sabotage. We won't need the self-sabotage if we're looking at things differently. So I showed you two places that lower our thermostat, okay? I showed you that we've got these outside influences, and those outside influences cause this first blank right here, okay? And then these fragmented pieces of ourselves okay, cause us to reject a part of ourselves. And this other thing right here that I'm going to show you, those two things together cause this second blank. Okay, so we have that fragmented place. And the other piece is this. And so those of you guys who heard my webinar in February, I introduced you to Fannie Hopewell. So Fannie Hopewell was born in 1871. And Fannie Hopewell was my grandmother's mother. Is that right? Yeah. Because my mom was born when her parents were well, her dad was 58 when she was born, and her mom was 38 when she was born. And so my grandparents, my great-grandparents, my grandparents were born in the 1800s. My great-grandparents were also born in the 1800s. So this is Fannie Hopewell. Well, Fannie Hopewell was full of resentments. She was so full of resentments because she had left England alone to come over to the United States for a better life, okay? Because she had this big idea of what it was going to be like in America. Well, she ended up marrying a farm boy, Samuel Benson, and they moved to Idaho. And they moved to a homestead in Sublette, Idaho. Just a little desert town. There's hardly anybody in Sublette, Idaho. Well, Fannie Hopewell had come from a place in England. There was a lot of affluent people. So when she left England, she expected to get a better life. And to her, a better life was not a little tiny homestead in Idaho. So she had a lot of resentments. Well, one of her youngest daughters was Gladys Martha Benson. And this is my grandma. And so she married Roy Levi Hendricks. And she married him when his first wife died, giving birth to their seventh child. So she married this guy when he had 7 kids. And then 20 years later, they had my mom, 20 years later. And my mom is Donna Lee Hendricks. So here's my mom. My grandma, in order to take care of these 7 children, she gave up her dream of going to college and being a nurse. She wanted to be the first person in her family to ever graduate from college, but she gave up that dream to take care of these 7 kids. And she married a deep sea fisherman and a rock layer. So he was a deep sea fisherman and then a rock layer. And so she had a lot of resentments that she had first been given a lot from her mom. And then she gave up a lot of things in her life. And so she felt those resentments. So those resentments went down from mother to daughter and from mother to daughter. And then I was born. So here's me, Ann Martha Sanford. See, my middle name is my grandma's middle name. And my mom was the youngest child, and my dad was the youngest child. And my dad was raised in foster care. So he came with a lot of resentments, okay? So here we have 2 youngest children, my mom and my dad, who were both youngest children. And these 2 youngest children had lots and lots of resentments. So people, when they're full of resentments, will tend to pour those resentments on the people that are closest to them. And my parents were no exception. So here's my parents, Donna Lee Hendricks and Melvin Lyle Sanford. And I'm their oldest guinea pig. And so they poured lots of emotions onto me because they didn't know what else to do with them. Has that happened to you? Do you have any family stories where resentments got passed down from person to person to person, and now you're the next in the family line that gets to deal with those resentments? I bet you have. Let me know. Just say, oh yeah, it's me, or raise your hand so that I can see. Because we all have we all have interesting family lines. Can we just call them that? So I have an interesting family line. I mean, my dad grew up in foster care. My mom grew up in an abusive environment with lots of resentments poured on her. My dad had lots of resentments because of his life. And so now they had a daughter. And you know what my dad wanted first? Not a daughter. That's not what he wanted first. He wanted a son, right? And so the first story that I learned about my birth was that my dad didn't arrive at the hospital before I was born. He arrived just after. And so they handed him first a picture of me. And his first response, and I have that picture somewhere, but I haven't been able to find it in all my moves. But his first response was, "Oh, what happened to her?" Because he's like, "Oh, she's not very pretty. She's really ugly. Can you send her back?" That was the first thing my dad said about me. And so, can we have resentments that come to us at birth? Do you know you can even get resentments that come to you in utero? That's a different tangent. But that happened to me from the moment I was born. I was soaked in these resentments. And now my dad will tell me, he goes, "Oh, it didn't take me very long before you won me over, and I was glad I had a girl." But that doesn't change the fact that the first thing I got was a resentment from my parents, right? And so right, I know you can relate to me. And so you and I, the fact that you're here tonight shows me that you and I have signed up to be chain breakers. We've signed up to do something different. We decided to do it different because what that does is it gives us a chance to have a new foundation that influences the whole world around us. Because I love this quote from Ender's Game. He says, Ender's Game is a science fiction book by Orson Scott Card, but he says this, he goes, "There are times when the world is rearranging itself. And at times like that, the right words can change the world." So you and I are here right now in this world at this time because we are here to change the world. We're here to change it. Yeah, I love that word, generational curses. We're here to change that because we know what it feels that we can sense that there's something better instead of being full of these resentments. And so here we are. We have, let's recap them. We have outside influences that are soaking us in resentments. We have fractured pieces of ourselves that we resent. We can resent the fact that we're too short or too tall or too fat or too thin or too old or too young or too smart or too dumb. We can resent everything. Then we also have our DNA that influences us. And the last place that we get influences, now I got to tell you this story. So this is where this webinar started from, was from my story that I'm going to finish here in just a moment about my hike in Hawaii. Well, this right here, this is just a little makeup pencil, okay? It's just a little crayon makeup pencil. I really like these because they have crayon inside that you just can twist up, and it's an eyeliner, so you can put it on your eyes. Well, you can't see that there's anything what's in there, so you don't know when you're going to run out. So I always try to keep an extra one of these in my cupboard so that when I run out, I'm ready. I'm prepared, right? And so this right here was ready for me when my previous pencil ran out. I ordered this like 6 months ago. I ordered it off of Amazon, and I had it in my makeup bag. And I don't use a ton of makeup. I use like 3 things, okay? But this one, I like to have it. So when my previous one ran out, I got this one out of the cupboard. I opened the clamshell, I opened the lid, and I went to twist it up. And the twister doesn't work. It doesn't work. Frustrating. And so there's just this little bit sticking out that I could use. So I had to order another one. But what did I do with this one? I put it back in my makeup bag and I carried it with me. I even took it to Hawaii with me. I took my makeup and my broken makeup pencil. I hauled it all the way to Hawaii with me. And you know why? Why would I do that? Because what should you do with something that doesn't work? What can you do with it? I could have returned it, but it was past the return window. Like you only have 30 days to return it. They didn't sell this brand on Amazon anymore, so I couldn't buy another one. It's sealed, so there was no way to get into it without breaking it, and then that wasn't going to be very useful. So why would I hold on to it? Why would we hold on? Have you ever done that? Have you ever held on to something that wouldn't work? So I'm like, oh my gosh, why am I hauling this around with me? Because it gives me permission for the negative emotion that I feel about it. It gives me permission, right? We might feel guilt because we bought something that didn't work. And now it's like, oh my goodness, now I wasted that money. It wasn't a ton. It was like $5, right? But I might not throw it away because I feel bad about the $5 that is wasted. Or I feel bad because somebody sent me something that doesn't work. And so now I want to be able to point my finger and blame them. Or but I have negative emotion. And so I put it back in my makeup bag. And every time I would open my makeup bag, I would see the broken pencil and I would go, ugh. And I would have another shot of resentment go into my heart because I'm holding on to this. So then I thought, oh my goodness, I can't believe I hauled this with me. Can you believe I hauled it to Hawaii with me? Why would I take a resentment with me? And I'm like, well, I need to let go of it. So on my way to the garbage can to throw this away, I found this sitting next to the garbage can. You know what this is? It's another pile of resentment because this was a charger for my phone that I purchased. And when I got it, it didn't work. So I went to the store and I exchanged it for one that worked. And then a month later, this one quit working. And so now this one not only has the resentment of it doesn't work, but it also has the resentment that I've already invested time twice into going down and getting one of these. So now I have two resentments that are sitting next to each other. And I'm like, are you kidding me? How many resentments do I have? And so now I started paying attention and I'm like, oh my gosh, how many resentments do I have? And I started looking and I realized that there are resentments everywhere. We are soaking in resentments. Oh my gosh, we're so soaking in resentments that we look for permission everywhere to hold on to them. So right after this, I got on my phone to post something on social media. And while I did it, I have a neighbor who made a comment on social media, and she didn't say who she was talking about, but it made me think she was talking about me because this neighbor has been very mean to me in the past. Back when I didn't know what to do with outside influences, she's been very mean. And so now I was like, see, I have more resentments and I have permission for these resentments. And so we have all these places that we get pounded with resentments. So then I started looking around me. I started looking everywhere I go because I'm a body language expert, right? So I go to the store and I'm looking around me and I'm like, oh my gosh, look at the resentments. And then I had to take my car in to get fixed. And I go there and I'm like, oh my gosh, look at all the resentments. And I look on social media and I'm like, oh, look at all the resentments. Our world is soaked in resentments right now. And there's so many resentments that it's causing us to behave in a way that we fear other people. Because when you get soaked in resentment, what happens? What happens when we get soaked in resentments? Do you have any idea? When we get soaked in resentment, what happens? I'm going to skip ahead here. What happens when we get soaked in resentments is it influences all of our experiences that we're going through. So in our lives, we're not done yet, right? We have a lot of experiences still to go through. I see myself that I'm not grown up yet. I got a lot of growing still to do. I got to grow up. And going through all these experiences, I am going to look for the negative in all of these experiences because I'm so full of resentments. We're a powder keg waiting to blow. Our vibrations are lower. We leak resentment on other people. We so want our loved ones to have things easier than we did that what'll happen is we won't trust our loved ones to be able to handle hard things. Self-criticism, resentment sometimes comes as grief. Sure, it makes us more negative. We start to shut down. We stop forward movement. We miss the joy. We attract more resentment. We see what we believe we will see. Yes, all of these things are happening. And so our first thing that we have to look at here is resentments. When you're full of resentments, you are looking at your life through a lens of resentments. You will fear the future. You will fear what is coming, no matter what it is. So, we cut ourselves off. We're affected exponentially. So my son, at the end of last year, he was in a musical version of Peter Pan. And in this musical version of Peter Pan, they have a narrator that comes out on stage. They pause the whole play and everybody stands as if they're frozen. And this narrator comes out on stage. And she points at Peter Pan, who's being chased by it was a shark, right? That ate his hand and had swallowed a clock. And the narrator goes, Peter Pan is youth and beauty and joy. Captain Hook is being chased, or Captain Hook chases Peter Pan. Oh, a crocodile. Thank you. I'm like, it's not a shark. What was it? Thanks, you guys. It was a crocodile. So Peter Pan represents youth, beauty, and joy. He can never grow up. Captain Hook is chasing him. Captain Hook is chasing him. And he, in turn, is running from a crocodile that sounds like a clock. He's running from time. So maybe I'm the only person on the planet that didn't notice this, but it took the narrator telling me, oh my gosh, Peter Pan represents youth, beauty, and joy. Captain Hook is chasing that, and he's running from time. And then the narrator says this: our purpose here is to embrace life and face fear head on while pursuing our dreams. Living in fear of doing everything wrong causes us to miss out on life, and time will catch us. So there it is. I typed it all out right there. So Peter Pan is youth, beauty, and joy. Captain Hook chases Peter Pan and runs from time, but time catches Hook. Right? So am I the only one? You probably already knew this. Okay, you're smarter than me. You probably already knew. But to me, I needed to see that because from that, I realized this. And that is this. When we're moving towards our future, okay? So, okay, All right, so who needed to hear this tonight? Raise your hand if you needed to hear this, because I'm about to share something that wasn't in my original slides. So if you're resonating with me, because I'm here for you, right? Okay, so let's look at this. When we're moving, let's do a girl this time. When we're moving towards our future, all right? I want to, come on, computer. Work with me here. Okay, so when I'm moving towards my future, I'm choosing what I want to trade my time for, what it is that I want to trade my time for, okay? So like in breakthrough coaching right now, we've been talking about resentments. We've been talking about time. The time keeps ticking by. Did you know that you are a day older today than you were yesterday? We can't stop that. God created a planet where time does not stop. It keeps moving forward. And so that means it's here to teach us something, and we need to learn from it. So I am going to trade, as I'm walking down time, I'm going to trade time for goals that I choose. Okay? Right? 70 got here really fast. No kidding, right? But you're not done yet. You're not done. You're still growing into your potential. Just like I was talking about a second ago, is that we're still moving through all of these experiences to become who our potential is. And I have so much to share with you guys. Can we stay till midnight? This is really good. So look at this that I realized. This is so powerful. So I in order, as I'm going through time, as I'm choosing what I want to trade time for. So like the month of August, I'm going to trade the month of August for a goal. I've got to achieve something, or I will default into what my past programming tells me to default to. So let me say that one more time. I will either choose what I want to trade my month of August for, or I will default to what my programming tells me to default to. It's one or the other. And how many people around you do the default? Have you done the default in the past? I have. I've so done the default because I've been too afraid to choose something better. I've been too afraid. So when you're choosing something that you want, you have to have a belief response to it. Okay? So this is kind of deeper than you've probably heard before, especially in a free webinar. So stick with me here, okay? You're going to have a belief response, and it's going to be one of two responses. It's either going to be a faith response, and what a faith response is I'll just type it here. It's a belief that the goal can happen. Okay, that's what sorry, I messed this up. It's a belief that the goal can happen. That's what a faith response is. Okay, it's a version of belief, is faith. Right? Well said, Shauna. We trade our time for what our goals are. Am I progressing? Am I wasting my time? Am I defaulting, or am I upgrading? Am I defaulting or upgrading? So you're either going to have a belief response of faith, or you're going to have a belief response of fear. Now, I'm just going to call this out. Churchy people get confused on what the difference between fear and faith are, because churchy people are told that fear and faith can't exist at the same time. But I'm here to tell you, faith and scared, they can exist at the same time. Absolutely. Faith and scared, you can be scared and still be moving forward to what you want. You can be scared, but what you can't be is fearful. And so I need to show you what that means. What that means is, oh my goodness. I have so many pieces to share. This is so awesome. What that means is fear is actually not being scared. What fear is a belief that the goal cannot happen. That's what fear is. That's why fear and faith cannot exist at the same time, is because fear is actually the opposite. It's the belief. It's a belief that the goal cannot happen. So you can't believe both of them at the same time. You could go back and forth between them, right? That's what we talked about last month in my webinar, is that we can go back and forth. But what we have to do is get to the point that more of the time we are believing that it can happen. Because if more of the time we believe it cannot happen, then we are in fear belief response, not in a faith belief response. Does that make sense? Raise your hand if that makes sense. Because this was a big deal for me to recognize this, because I realized that one of my resentments was, catch me on this one, one of my resentments was that I was being told that if I was afraid, then it meant I didn't have faith. And I resented that because I couldn't get myself to not be afraid. But then I finally realized having faith does not mean I'm not scared, because you can never know the future. Time only goes in a forward direction, and nothing in front of you is known. We do not know the day we will leave this planet. A friend of mine on Facebook posted just this week that their sister suddenly died. Not very young, suddenly passed away. I met this wonderful person in Hawaii at the airport. I got to help this gentleman. His name was Tao, and Tao was from Samoa. And Tao, we were in the airport and we saw Tao in his traditional Samoan outfit trying to use a payphone. Did you know that payphones still exist? I had no idea, right? So he is at the payphone, and we're like, I think he probably needs help because he's trying to use a payphone. And so we go over and we ask him, do you need some help? And he's like, oh, my friend dropped me off here at the airport and my flight's canceled and I have no way to get a hold. I think it was his brother-in-law. I have no way to get a hold of my brother-in-law. And we're like, well, here, use our phone. And then he couldn't get a hold of anybody because nobody was going to answer my phone number that he knew. And so we got to help him at the airport. And we finally got him in touch with his brother and sister-in-law. That's who it was. We finally got him in touch with them. We tried to help him reschedule his flight, but there was no other flights available. And so he was going to have to come back the next day. And so we didn't do very much. But the reason he was there was because his cousin had died suddenly at the age of 34. You never know. You never know what's going to happen. And he was so grateful for this little tiny bit of help that we gave him, because people live in fear, in a fear belief response. They're believing in the negative. Fear is believing in a negative outcome. That's what it is. And you know what I stand for? You know what I'm against? I'm against a constant belief in a negative outcome. Sure, there can be hard things that happen. There can be bad things that happen, like your sister or your cousin or somebody dying suddenly. Yeah, that's not a positive thing, but it isn't the end result. It isn't the outcome for you. Your belief that your path is working for your good is powerful. And so what do I stand for? I stand for helping people believe in the positive potential of their future, their positive potential on their timeline. Because you know who I've decided to go to Since I stand for something, who I end up going to war with is I'm going to war with the devil's pacifiers that he tries to trick people with. Oh my goodness, you got me on my soapbox now, right? Because here's what I see happening. I typed it out for you guys right here. The devil wants to trick you off of your path. He doesn't want you to have a positive belief response. He wants you to believe that the goal cannot happen. He wants you to believe in the negative. And so here's how he tricks you. Oh my gosh, it's going to make me cry because I see this so often. He tricks you. He tells you, I can do it tomorrow. And you hear that in your mind and you're like, oh, that must be my voice. Yeah, I can do it tomorrow. And you're like, and then if that one doesn't work and it's like, oh, wait a second. No, I can't do it tomorrow. I need to get it done today because I believe in my future. Since I believe in my future, I gonna do it now. And so then the devil whispers to you and says, I can't change. And you hear that and you're like, oh, that must have been my voice. Yeah, I can't change. No, wait a minute. I can so change. I can so change. All right, hang on. I got to put these next to each other so we can go back and forth. So hang on just a second. Let me put these next to each other. Okay, so he doesn't want you to believe that you can move forward. So he says, oh, no, you can't change. You can't change. And then you hear that and you're like, oh, I can't change. Oh, you're right. Oh, I like that. Jennifer says sin. It's a word that literally means standing in the negative. Love it. Okay. Or number 3. So which one does he trick you with? Which one, my friend? Which one, my friend, does he trick you with? It's not my fault. Somebody else is the problem. I'll just wait till somebody else fixes this. I'll defer the responsibility. Or if that doesn't work, is it number 5? It's too late. Why try? I have no potential left. Believing you have no potential left is having a fear belief response. But every fear belief response, we've got to balance it with at least 2 faith belief responses. So we need to be conscious and aware of this. It's too late. Why bother? You're too old. And if that doesn't get you, how about number 6? The world will end tomorrow anyway. So what's the point? Why do I need to bother changing? I have news for you guys. The world isn't ending tomorrow. It isn't. And your potential is not done. As long as you live on this planet, you still have positive potential. I don't care how old you are. You still have positive potential. You're not done yet. I spent 6 weeks at my mother's bedside as she died of cancer. So was she done? Absolutely not. So you know what we did? When she was in so much pain because she was in stage 4 cancer and it was all over her body, and stage 4 ovarian cancer, and it was in her lungs, in her brain, in her ovaries, it was in her kidneys, it was shutting down all these parts of her body. And so they didn't even try to help her. They just said hospice. And so I dropped everything and I went and I stayed by her bedside. And when the pain meds wouldn't kick in fast enough, she's like, what do I do? And I'm like, let's talk to it. And I sat by her bedside and I mentored her for the last 6 weeks of her life. She, even with a cancer diagnosis, still had positive potential. She still had positive potential left on her timeline, you guys. We have positive potential till the day we leave the planet. And so if you're still here, you have positive potential. And so if you're believing the negative, if you're believing it's too late, if you're believing the world's going to end anyway, or I need someone to save me, or it's not my fault, if you're believing any of these, then I'm here to fight for you. I'm fighting for you. And maybe you've been waiting for somebody to fight for you. And here I am. I'm fighting for your mind space, for your emotion space, for your physical space, for your freedom. Because this is the battle that's going on. And you're being tricked into a fear belief response. And fear is that belief that in the negative. It's the belief that the negative is the only thing that can happen. So is that you? Have you ever been stuck in that? Have you ever been stuck in the belief that only a negative outcome can even happen? So why try? Yes, you have positive potential. If you're on the planet, you have positive potential. So when we have a fear belief response, we feed the misery of our life. And you know what? Sometimes the misery is familiar. And that misery is so familiar that we will choose it over the positive unknown, because this is unknown. That's the way we are here to live our lives, is stepping into the unknown on a daily basis. But we silly humans, we chase the safety of the known, even though the known is not what causes the safety. Having a better belief response causes us to feel safe. There is no guarantees for the future. There isn't. And so to have the faith that our opposition is an opportunity, because that's what, so in Breakthrough Coaching on Monday, I taught them about what we're talking about right here, about our resentment responses and how to get out of that and how to change it. So that, and I told them there's opportunity in opposition, because opposition is trying to give us something to step on top of and be able to see further ahead. And Mickey, just like you're saying, can we break those chains of negativity completely? We don't have to break them completely. We just have to tip it 51%, because as long as we are in faith more often than we're in fear, then we will step into our positive potential. And our positive potential, that's a powerful place to be, because are we feeding the pain, or are we feeding the misery or the mastery? Okay, that's our choice. Do we want our positive potential or our pain potential? So in Breakthrough Coaching, I asked them, what do you notice in our world is happening? Because everyone is soaking in resentment. Everyone, everywhere you look, they are soaking in the two things that we're talking about tonight. And those two things are resentment and overwhelm. Resentment and overwhelm. Okay? So when you are full of resentment and you don't understand the emotion of overwhelm, then you will have a lowered miracle thermostat, because you will have a belief response that isn't positive. And what's a miracle? What is a miracle, you guys? Tell me what a miracle is. Yep, well said, Jennifer. She says, standing in the negative obstructs, blocks, deters, and stagnates. More of the same in standing in negative. It matches up so perfectly. Very well said. Overwhelm is part of my daily vocabulary, right? Oh yeah, Shauna, the shield of faith, the arms us against fears. Yeah, when I teach about the armor of God, it's an offensive armor. It's not a run and hide armor, okay? It is an offensive. We're meant to stand up and move towards our positive potential. If you run and hide, you will not move towards that positive potential. So what does that feel like? Okay. So I asked them in breakthrough coaching, what does it feel like? And they said what they notice is happening in the world because everybody's soaking in resentment. Because Rayanne says that a miracle is light. Spencer says a miracle is being aligned and in harmony with the gifts of God and the universe. So it's being in faith response more than a fear response. And how do you do that? You have to address the resentments and the overwhelm. You have to. And the resentments are causing all of these things in our world. They're causing this. We feel frustrated, fearful, torn relationships, ability to hurt others, permission even to hurt others, entitlement, heavy depression, toxicity, victimhood, a belief that my life can't be better until somebody else changes. This was another thing I learned in Hawaii. I went to the Polynesian Culture Center, and in the Samoa village, they were talking about climbing coconut trees and getting the coconuts out of the coconut tree. And he said, in Samoa, all the coconut trees have coconuts. He goes, at your hotel, there are coconut trees. Are there any coconuts on the coconut trees? And we all look at each other and we're like, oh, no, there's no coconuts at our hotel. And we're like, where's the coconuts? And he goes, the reason is this. In Samoa, if you walk under a coconut tree and a coconut falls on your head, it's your fault for walking under the coconut tree. He said, in America, if you walk under a coconut tree and you get hit by a coconut, it's somebody else's fault. And they're the one that will get in trouble is somebody else. He says, so the hotels, they have people hired to climb the coconut trees and cut all the coconuts because they don't want to be in trouble for you walking under a coconut tree. And that contributes to a victim mentality, believing that somebody else is in charge of whether I get hurt. That is believing somebody else has to save me. That makes us powerless, not powerful. And so where are we looking to point blame, to point an accusation, to make assumptions, to make judgments? What that caused, right, Roxanne? Very good. She remembers our equation from the Miracle webinar. Opposition minus fear plus perspective equals miracles. Absolutely. And so that's exactly what we want to do here. So we've got to get rid of our resentments. And so what we want to do is step out of that pain and step into our positive potential. So tell me, what does your positive potential feel like? What does your positive potential feel like? Look, I have a blank slate here for you. I want to know, what does it feel like to you? What does it feel like? What does your blank slate feel like? Type it in the chat for me. Freeing, liberating, light, clear, hope, peace, powerful, light, joyful, confidence, open. These are so good. You can do anything you want to. That's positive, right? Calm, playful, strong, motivated, relaxed, ease, uplifting. God, they're going by so fast, I can't even read them all. Those are wonderful words. Can you practice feeling that before you even arrive at it? Can you do that? So where are you being stopped? Okay. Are you being frustrated, overwhelmed, and full of resentment? Are you done feeling like a loser? You're growing up? Who you are growing up to be? I can read my words. Who you are growing up to be is still happening. Tell me. Say, I'm still growing. I'm not done yet. I'm not done yet. I'm still growing. So if I am, then you are. So this right here, figuring out the gray area, I'll show you that in a minute. We got so excited here, we went out of order. That is right. I'm 72 and still growing, not dead yet. I'll never be done, right? Exactly. Tell me, come on, because this is you and me. We're believing in your positive potential because we've been so soaked in the negative. Our world is soaking us in negative, in believing that it has to be somebody else that changes before we can feel better. And so what's happening is we're ending up with lots of pock marks where things have been flung at us, and it's causing us to feel like the resentment is my only choice. But what we want to do is we want to take these off of you. We want to remove these so that you can feel better. Because do you have positive that comes at you every day or just negative? Tell me. Do you have positive and negative, or do you have mostly negative? Or do you have mostly positive? What do you have? What do you experience on a daily basis? Lately, it's been more negative. There's more positive if we look for it. Good. Mostly negative. Come on, keep telling me. I want to hear everybody's answer. A good mixture of both. It depends on where I am. That's interesting, Tori. Most people only see what they believe, right? Sometimes I need to find the positive. It truly depends on what I pay attention to. Okay, so let's talk about what you pay attention to, because this is the reality of what most people are doing. So you check this list. Do you spend more time fighting fires than designing your future? Do you struggle to eat what you should? Are you frequently frustrated with other people's behavior? Do you feel like there are events in the past that should never have happened? Life happens to me instead of I happen to my life. I snap or yell more than I want to. How about procrastination? Raise your hand if you put off things that you know would give you a positive result. I want an honest hand raise on this one. If you put off things that would give you a positive result, tell me. I do. And when you feel that, what's going on is you are giving in to the resentments. You're believing the resentments more than your positive potential, right? So procrastination, anxiety, depression, stress, arguing, fighting, worry, and fear about life. So that would be that negative belief response. Making excuses, blame, justifying behavior more than twice a week. Do you justify? You know what I'm talking about? You're like, oh, well, I'm late because of this. So justifying or excuses. So play with me here. I'll raise my hand. If you blame or make excuses more than 2 times a week, raise your hand. Right? We so do that. How about the bully in the brain is louder? That should be is louder than your own voice. Oh, whoops. It's not letting me. Well, that should be is. Your house, car, or scheduled are clutter or a mess. Lack of motivation and desire to move forward. Okay, so read this list and count yours up. If you have more than 4 of these, then you probably have more resentments holding you back than you realize. And so in Breakthrough Coaching on Monday, I gave them a challenge. I said, hey, do you want to change the number of resentments that are going on in your life? So here it is right here. And they're like, absolutely. All of them, right, Tammy? All of them. Yeah, look at that. Oh, Dawn, that's powerful. Positives are being given to me, but I only allow the negatives to be present. Yeah, so powerful. Well said, you guys. And so there's 2 things. I want you to know And I want you to feel excited. You can choose it, of course, but for me, I choose this statement. I am excited that I am in charge of what my space feels like. I'm in charge of it. Even though we think that other people get to pour anything they want into our space, they don't. And even though we have beliefs from our growing up that think we have to pour negative into our space, the reality is we're in charge of our space. And so I gave them what I call the doorway challenge. So this is a mentoring principle where you notice your space, okay? And so the way it works is this. Oh, well, I got to check. So has this made sense, what I've been talking about so far? If you've learned something, raise your hand. Okay, so now let me lower all the hands. Let me lower all the hands, and then I'm going to ask this question. Are you somebody who has too much resentment in their life? Raise your hand. If you recognize that you have way more resentments than you need in your life, raise your hand for me. Okay. So we recognize we've got to do something about it. And so one of the things that we can do now, when I mentor people, I cater for them exactly what they need to do and where their resentments are coming from. Because the reality is they can come from all different places. For example, one person that I mentor, when I was talking to her, she's like, oh my gosh, I realized that I've held on to resentments that come from like different parts of her house, like her washing machine, her plumbing, her light bulbs. Anybody have any parts of your house that you resent? Or how about your garage door that doesn't work? Or for me, right? Or for me, it's the paint that's peeling on the back porch, or the fact that I don't have a deck. Anybody have any resentments about their house? Oh, right. So those resentments are actually soaking us to believe in more negative. The longer you let a resentment stick around, the more negative you give yourself permission for. And so I got to finish my Hawaii story. Oh my gosh. So I'm going up this mountain, and this lady is like, you cannot go up there. And this was like the third group of people that are like, you know what, we've turned around. The others were really nice. They're like, yeah, we've turned around because it's too slippery. And she's like, you can't go on. And I'm like, you know what? I think we're okay. So we made a choice, you guys. We made a choice to move forward, even though people were trying to stop us. And the very next person that we passed was somebody who was coming back from having gone all the way to the top. And we asked them, we said, hey, these other people said it's not safe. And they go, oh no, we did it. And then they said this, they go, do you really want to come this far and not get to the end? And I'm like, oh, no, I want to get to the end. Because we'd gone through my husband not being able to come, the grumpy person at the parking lot, the not having enough food and water in our hike, and having to jump into the river to get my sunglasses. And then we even made it past the naysayers that were going up the path. And to have this one person, we held on to our positive belief that we could make it to the waterfall. And to have this one person say to us, would you really want to come this far and not finish? It was exactly what we needed. And so we go the last little bit, and we had to cross the river 4 times, and we had to pass all these people, and we make it up to the waterfall, and we get to go swimming in this beautiful waterfall. And we started talking to some people that were there that were swimming with us, and we're like, you know, we almost turned around because there were these people that said it was too scary. And this couple, they look at each other and they go, yeah, that was probably our sister-in-law. And I was like, oh my gosh. So they were related to this lady that had tried to stop us from going up the path. And they're like, yeah, she tried to convince all of us to turn around. And so how many times do you have people in your own family who are falling prey to the soaking in resentments, that their belief response is that they can't do it. And if they can't do it, have you ever heard the phrase misery loves company? When people believe in their own head that they can't do it, they need other people to believe that they can't do it. If you don't hear me say anything else tonight, I want you to hear that. So I'm going to say it one more time. When people believe that they can't access their positive potential, they need other people to believe that they can't. So this lady didn't believe that she could make it. So she needed me to not believe, because me not believing I could get there would give her permission to stay in her negative place. And so the reality is our world is swimming in resentments right now, and it is creating people who have a negative belief response. Do you know somebody? Raise your hand if you know somebody who has a negative belief response to their world. If you don't all raise your hand, then you now know the person that was on the hike with me, and you can raise your hand that you know them, right? And so the reality is, when people don't believe that they can access their positive potential, they need others to believe that they can't either. So it's can't, Adam, not can. They need others to believe that they can't. In other words, misery loves company. Misery, if they're miserable, they want you to be miserable too. But you know what? The opposite is also true. That couple that I passed that said, wouldn't you hate to come this far and not make it? They believed in the positive potential of me because they had achieved. And so that's what I stand for, is I stand for believing in my own potential, accessing it, and then turning around and believing in you. Because I don't want you to come this far and not get to your positive potential. Why would you grow and go through all these obstacles and then give up now? Why would you do that? It's not what you're here for. It's not what you were meant for. And so really quickly, the other part of it, the overwhelm has to be broken out into pieces. The reason it's overwhelming is because you're looking at all of it at one time. So on this hike, the reason this lady wouldn't finish the hike is she was looking at the whole mountain at once. And she didn't believe that her kids could make it. So her kids were getting the message, Mom doesn't trust us to be able to take the next steps. She didn't, that's the message. I saw it on the faces of these two teenagers. They were like, yeah, I wish we could go up the mountain, but Mom doesn't believe we can. And so when we have a negative belief response, we become contagious. When we have a positive belief response, we can also be contagious. So what are you going to spread? What do you want to be contagious for? I saw a meme once that said, hey, I just found out I'm awesome. You should probably get yourself tested. And I was like, that's great. So choose for me. What do you want to be contagious for? I like that. Positivity, right? I want to be contagious for positivity. I choose to be contagious for belief in positive potential. That's who I choose to be. Okay? I choose to have that positive belief response because that's who I want to be. Now, does that mean that everything will be easy on my path? Absolutely not. But if I want to attract more miracles into my life, I need to do what I talked about in our first webinar. I need to remove my fear from opposition, and I need to upgrade my perspective so that I attract more miracles. And to raise my miracle thermostat, I've got to remove the resentments and see overwhelm in pieces instead of in one big hole. So when my son and I decided to continue up the path, we took it one boulder at a time. We took it one step at a time. Can you take one step? Can you take one step? Think about it. Sometimes we don't believe we can take one step, but the reality is we can take one step. And when we take one step, there we go. I lowered the hands. Okay, can you take one step? Raise your hand for me if you can take one step. I choose to be contagious for faith and miracles, right? Even a 1% step. Yes, I can take one step, right? We can take one step. You got me on my soapbox now, because it's not okay with me when people sit in bondage. Because what does bondage feel like? What does it feel like? Well, it feels like all of these things. It feels like this, but it also feels like this. It also feels like I have no ability to take a step. But the reality is you can. You can take a step. You can select and accomplish goals. You can overcome your fears. You can organize structure in your life. You can avoid common mistakes. You can improve relationships. You can have systems. These are all things that I stand for because I know what bondage feels like. I know what it feels like. And when I arrived at the top of that hike at the waterfall, it was so worth it. It was so worth it. And you guys, when I was on my path back, remember, we didn't have enough water with us. And at one point we passed, and everybody we passed after we made it to the waterfall, we were like, you can do it. It's worth it. Take the next step. We were the biggest faith promoters after we achieved a goal. But when we don't know how to achieve any of our positive potential, we will be the misery spreaders. We will spread misery because we don't believe in it. Oh man, we were spreading positivity everywhere. And this one guy stopped and he goes, you know what? I am so glad to hear how awesome it is up there. We got started too late, but we brought all this extra water with us. Would you guys like some of our water? And I was like, oh my gosh, thank you. We would love to receive the gift that you are sharing. So my question for you is, what are you sharing? Do you share positive gifts of belief in positive potential, or do you share misery? What are you giving? Because the one lady on our path tried to pour negativity on us. And this other gentleman was like, here, let me share with you. We attracted that into our lives. And what I mean by that is we made room. Because we were pouring this positive on other people, it made room in our space to receive a gift from somebody else. You will find that when you raise your miracle thermostat and you wash resentments out of your life and you take one step, that miracles will show up. And that was our miracle. That was our miracle, is when this gentleman said, here, let me give you my extra water bottle. And my son and I were like, thank you, because we were so thirsty, because the only water on the path was either the river or the ocean, and we couldn't drink those. And so we were given these powerful gifts, and we get gifts when we give gifts. So what do you spread? What are you spreading around? Are you spreading? Let me share this. Are you spreading? Well, I typed it here, misery or mastery, but we can, but what we've been calling it is, are you spreading pain? Whoops. Pain versus positive potential. There you go. That's what you're doing. You're choosing between those. Do you believe in people's positive potential, or do you believe in their pain? I've encountered people that believe in both. So this is what's going on, you guys. Where we're at, the devil is tricking us that we need things to be dumbed down, that we're mentally paralyzed, that we don't have the ability to take a step forward, that fear is inflated, we're wasting time and money and effort, that we are controllable. Are you controllable? That we're overwhelmed, frustrated, afraid, inexperienced, unbalanced, uncertain. All of this is pain. And we've all felt these things. But this is where we want to be, you guys. This is what I want. This is what I stand for. I stand for freedom, progressing, empowerment, being compassionate, motivated, moving, a freedom fighter. Who's a freedom fighter with me, you guys? I'm a little wound up today because it's not okay with me that I see all of this. So raise your hand if you are a freedom fighter with me, because that's what I believe in being, is a freedom fighter, a spreader, a leader who has their own foundation. If you follow me on social media, I posted recently a testimonial that came across my feed from somebody who attended Break Free Intensive. Break Free Intensive is a class that was the predecessor to Breakthrough Coaching. And in that class, she talked about how the new level of freedom that she had in her life. And I saw that and I realized, I said, and this post that I made was all to do with this webinar tonight. I said, what I've realized is that in our world, everything, all of this negative that we're being tricked with is trying to show us that we need to have our own foundation that we stand on, that we need to have our own foundation that we stand on. And so opposition is a true principle of this planet. And right now, opposition is huge. And so whatever you want to call it, T-Money, you can call it the devil, you can call it opposition. It's real. Resentment is real on this planet. And so as long as you are in this negative right here, you do not have your own foundation. And our world right now needs individuals to have their own foundation, to build their foundation that they stand on. And if you don't have a foundation that you're standing on, then collectively our country will fall, because our country's foundation is the summation of all of our individual foundations. And so it's your responsibility to build your own foundation to stand on. And so we do that by getting past this and into our positive potential, where our confidence is increasing. We have positive relationships. We're certain we have positive belief responses to things that happen in our life. And so we got to get through this confusion zone, because time, remember, only goes in one direction. So what's in the future is always unknown, which makes it mean that we have to pass through that gray zone to get to where we want to be. So that means we need to upgrade by having a transformation path, a transformation plan that gets us from point A to point B. We want to get out of the pain and into the potential, out of the pain and into the potential. So we got to transform from here to here. We got to do that. So we've been struggling with this with you. You know that it's time. You've been struggling with this for years. You've been believing that it's not possible. You've been believing one of these, because I asked you, which one do you believe? And you guys told me your number. So if you're giving in to any of these, then you're giving in to holding on to that negative belief response. It's time to stand up and do something different. It's time to stand up and go through a transformation to get to where you want to be. And so, okay, let me show you this slide. Let's see, where did I put it? One more thing. I got this for you. Where is it? Where is it? Hang on. It'll be worth it. Oh, I don't know where I put it. Oh, here it is. Adults make choices, not excuses. Okay. And then read this one. Successful people make more choices. Or decisions. So adults make choices, not excuses. Successful people make more decisions. So in order to get rid of resentments, we have to be willing to consciously make more choices. And so the doorway challenge, Lillian, the doorway challenge has to do with making more decisions. It has to do with becoming aware of what our choices are. And every time we go through a doorway, we are choosing what we bring into that next room. We're choosing what we bring in. And so when you stop at the door, if you stop at the door and just ask yourself, what am I taking into this next room? Are you going to take a space full of negativity and a belief in the negative and a misery needs company? Or are you bringing in a belief in positive potential? And so in breakthrough coaching, I went into more of it, but that's what it comes down to, Lillian, is that we need to make more decisions. So at every doorway, make the choice. What am I going to do? What am I going to bring into the next room? And so this is why I do what I do. Every day, all day long, I hold personal mentoring appointments with people or group mentoring appointments, and I help them. I help them to create their path towards their positive potential. Like Joanne said, Anne is great. She helped me break a lifelong block. It felt great. I can now choose to talk or not. The difference is the choice, and will not be fear generated. Or look at this one. I like this one. My husband and I both took breakthrough coaching, and there's more peace in my life than I had ever had in my life. It's changed our children's lives. It's the best. Many dots were connected for me. You helped us unclutter our souls. That was Tori. Tori, I saw you on here tonight. And so this is what I choose to do with my life. I choose to help people access their positive potential. And I know you've been falling prey to those negative pacifiers that are in our way, that I can't change, or I'll do it tomorrow, or it's too late. But it's not too late. It's not too late. And when you have a plan to get from point A to point B, it's totally doable. So this is why I created and upgraded from the Break Free Intensive class to the Breakthrough Coaching. So Breakthrough Coaching is the program that's there to take you out of that pain. Because you guys, how long are you going to wait? How long are you going to wait for somebody else to point the way? How long are you going to wait believing that you can't, or that you won't, or that there's no time, or that somebody else has to change first? That's not the way it is. You need the steps for you to take. And what I chose to do with my skill of body language expert is to believe in you longer than you do, if that's what it takes. Because that's what we're here for. When I came down that mountain and I got to pour positive into all these people, I watched them. They were going up the mountain and they were tired. And I said, you can do it. You're worth it. The view is worth it. You'll love it. You would watch, their shoulders would go, really? I can do it. And they would walk on lifted instead of drugged down. And so let me help you. You know you want to get through this gray zone, but you don't know how to do it. You've tried. You've put effort into it. You've put time into it. You've tried so many things and it's not working. And you guys, the world isn't ending yet, but the time is still now. The time is short. It's time to step up into who your potential is and what you're meant to do. And so when people personally mentor with me, I help them have a personalized path with everyday accountability directly to me. They have to text me their action steps. We link arms, arm in arm, and we're moving towards their positive potential. And we're accessing the belief in their positive future. We access that, we unlock that ability. And so if you've been somebody who's been stuck in this mentally paralyzed, emotionally fear-inflated position, if you've been stuck here for too long and it's time to get out, link arms with me. Link arms with me. Private message me and let's talk. We'll get on a phone call together and we'll talk about personal mentoring. Because can you imagine working with me for a year and you're personally accountable to me, and I'm somebody who's working on myself, and I keep my finger on the pulse of the planet. I see what people are dealing with. And right now, what people are dealing with is resentments and overwhelm. And if that's you, let me help you get out of it. Let me help you make it through. Yeah, thank you, Brenda. If you guys have been in my mentoring before, type it in the comments so that people can hear it from somebody besides just me. Because that's what I want to do, is individually cater your path to your positive potential. Because I'm against confusion. I'm against bondage. I'm against clutter. Your mental clutter, your emotional clutter, your physical clutter. I'm against all of that. What I'm here for is to help you get to where you are through that gray confusion zone into your positive potential. And so breakthrough coaching, I'll just tell you about it really quick here. It's made for you. And when you sign up for this program, when you sign up, it's so powerful. We're going to be working together for 14 weeks. 14 weeks. So this is the group mentoring program that I created. If you want to work with me one-on-one, let's talk about it. Let's call. Let's get on a call. And here's how you get on a call. You type in this link, 3ke.to/talk to Ann, or you scan this QR code. And that's going to take you directly to my calendar, okay? Not somebody else's. It's going to take you to mine. And so, did I spell gray wrong? That's possible. I don't know how to spell gray. It's going to take you directly to my calendar, and it's going to ask you some questions on what you want to accomplish. And then I'm going to call you. I'm going to call you directly. So if you want to talk about personal mentoring, let's talk about it. Because I don't usually give this offer out there about talking about personal mentoring, but I have the feeling that there's people on here that you and I were supposed to work together. You know that it's time. We gotta link arms and let me believe in you longer than you do, if that's what it takes. But when you get through with personal mentoring with me, you will believe in you. You will know who you are. You will accomplish your goals, because everything I teach you is repeatable. And you'll leave with a tool belt full of tools that next time an obstacle comes in your path, you're like, I got this. I so got this. Because who I used to be was somebody who I could not answer the door and I couldn't answer the phone because I was so afraid of the people that might be on the other side. I was afraid. I didn't dare talk to people at the grocery store. I know some people aren't going to believe me when I tell you that, but 12 years ago, I would not answer the phone and I would not answer the door because I was so afraid of the judgment that would come from whoever was there, no matter who they were. And so if it's time for you to get past that, let's talk. Let's talk. I'm willing to talk. We're just going to jump on a phone call and I will answer all of your questions because I believe in you. If you want to be part of my group mentoring, I have a really cool offer for you. My breakthrough coaching is 14 weeks. And when you sign up, you're going to get this email. And when you open this email, it's going to have a link to your own member library. And in your member library, I've already populated it it has the last 3 breakthrough coaching classes that we did over the last 3 weeks. And those are just a bonus, okay? Those aren't part of your 14 weeks. So that's like getting 3 extra weeks. So you can go in there and you can download all of those and you have 3 extra weeks of training. And we talked in depth about resentments and overwhelm and how to get past them and all the different ways that those resentments show up in our life, whether it's other people, whether it's circumstances, whether it's pets, whether it's whatever is coming at you. We talk about that because we meet together every Monday morning from 11 to 1 o'clock Mountain Time. And we have 2 hours that it's just you and me on the screen, okay? There's about 30 people that meet live and the rest of them watch the recording because you don't have to be on live. And so we're on a Zoom where you can share your video with me if you want. And I'm a body language expert. And so I will watch when you answer questions or when you ask questions. And I'll be able to help you unlock answers that you didn't know were available to you because I want you to be able to have that in your life. Janelle, I got to work with Janelle for a year. And she says, Anne has made an incredible difference in my life, insights that I couldn't see. She did personal mentoring with me. And Janelle is amazing, an amazing business leader. And the things that she was able to accomplish, holy cow, she is off the charts. And so this, you get your member library, you get in there, there's already the 3 recordings. And then there's also modules that you get to go through that help you to set up goals, that help you to set up systems, that help you to get past doubts and fears in your life. You also have accountability and team support and weekly mindset and emotion set training. And besides that, I'm there with you every week. So can you imagine working with me for the next 14 weeks? Where will you be in 14 weeks? Because I have news for you. Time keeps ticking. Tick, 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 just like that crocodile that's chasing Captain Hook. Time is ticking. So where will you be in 14 weeks? Will you be at your positive potential or will you still be in your default because you're giving into one of those tricks that are telling you you're not worth it or there's not, this isn't the right time, or I can't afford it, or it's not, my spouse won't agree to this, or what is it? What is your excuse that's going to make sure that in 14 weeks from now, which we will be approaching the holidays, are you going to go into the holidays in the same default that you have in the past, pulling in the same resentments, pulling in the same negativity? Or are you going to rise above? And are you going to arrive at the holidays in your new positive potential? The choice is yours. But it's time. Successful people make more decisions. Decide. Choose in, you guys. Choose in. Because this is, look at this. Scott said, broke through 2+ years worth of stuck in one appointment. In one appointment. Highly recommended. Look at this. It's amazing how much you can change in 3 months if you put your mind and action into it. And I show you exactly what actions to take. So book the call. Book a call with me, you guys. I've opened up 10 slots. That's all the time, all the slots I have. And so when you go in there, if there isn't a slot available, because you click on the link and then you answer a few questions. And then if somebody else was faster than you, they will have grabbed your slot. You're going to have to choose another one. So don't do too perfectionist on the questions, right? Go in and answer them, get on my calendar, let me call you. And then it's going to be me that calls you directly. Okay. I'm going to be the one that calls you. So get in there, book the call. Book the call. Your future self will thank you. Your future self will thank you for taking this step and moving forward in your life. So why? Why haven't you begun moving into the future you yet? Why are you still living in your default? Are you letting the opposition win, or are you going to step up and take a stance? Let's be warriors together. Take that stance. Okay? So in just a moment, I'm going to give you your gift for being here today. All right. So thank you for sticking with me and all of these great things we got to talk about today. So my last question for you is this: how many more resentments will it take until it's worth it to you to invest in your future you? How many more resentments? It's time to make a change. It's time. And so you're the one that I was here for tonight, because I felt the connection to who your future self wants you to be, to who you're becoming. Let's step into that positive potential together. As I sat at my mom's bedside, she shared with me resentments that she had pulled with her for 50 years. She shared a letter with me that she had resented from her sister, and she'd held on to it for 50 years. How much time has to go through your hourglass before you make your future you a priority? How much time? Okay? How much time is going to pass through your hourglass before you make the investment in your positive future you? The time is now, you guys. We need more people who know how to stand on their foundation and spread positive with people around them. Time keeps ticking by. Don't let all the time go through your hourglass to where you are wishing that your positive potential would have been accessed sooner. Okay? Let's move forward together. Recently, my son came into my room at 1:00 in the morning, and he said, "Mom, I just want to thank you." My son's 24 years old, and he came in my room and he's like, "Mom, I just want to thank you." And I'm like, "Why? What for?" I had no idea what he was talking about. And he goes, "Mom, thank you for becoming the you are today. Thank you for becoming. Thank you for becoming the person you are, for doing all the hard work." Because he's old enough to remember who I used to be like. He goes, "Mom, I don't know what my life would be like if you were still the old version of you." He's 24. It's not too late to have a positive influence on your family. How much more is going to pass through your hourglass? Click on the link, you guys. Click on the link or type it in the URL. Book a call. I'm here to talk to you. Don't let it all go past. So my gift for you is this. This gift is the replay to the Miracles Part 1. So if you missed Miracles Part 1, here is the gift that you will be able to go watch that replay. It's not available out there to the public, but I'm making it available to you because you were here for Miracles Part 2 today. So if you want to watch Miracles Part 1, then you now have the link to do that. If you've been in my mentoring in the past and it's time to come back, book a call with me because I have an extra special offer for you. The first five people who register and sign up for breakthrough coaching, I'm going to invest in you. I'm going to invest in your positive future you. And I'm going to do that by I'm going to gift you 2 personal mentoring appointments with me. 2 personal mentoring appointments. You guys, normally if people, I don't do that. Normally in order to be in personal mentoring with me, you've got to sign up for a year or at least a half a year. But the first 5 people, I'm going to give 2 60-minute one-on-one mentoring appointments, just you and me. I'm believing in your positive future you. I'm investing in that person. And so book the call. Be one of those first 5 people. Because when you register for breakthrough coaching, we're going to work together for 14 weeks and we're going to have 2 personal one-on-one appointments. You guys, why wait? Don't let all the time pass through your hourglass. It's time now to invest in your future you. I believe in your future you. Do you? Do you? Book a call. Book a call. Okay? So here's the link for Miracles Part 1 right here. 3ke.to/Ann0522. Book the call. Let's link arms and become your future you before all the sand is gone. You guys, it's time. I believe in you. I believe in your future you because I know that my present me was not who I was 10 years ago. And I had to take a step before any more sand went through my hourglass. You can do it. I believe in you. Thank you for being here tonight, you guys. Thank you for being part of the 2% of the planet that's willing to take positive steps to work on themselves, not just wish that they could have a better life, but actually do something about it before all the time runs out. You guys, we don't have all the time in the world, but we have enough time to make a difference. So I look forward to talking to you. Click the link. Click the link. And then the last question, what choice have you made because you were here tonight? Type it in the chat for me. What choice have you made? What is a positive step you are going to take because you were here tonight? Maybe it's you're going to book a call with Ann. And if you've worked with me before, maybe I've worked with a relative of yours. Maybe I've worked with a friend of yours. Maybe you're here because somebody invited you. So get on a call so that I can tell you about the breakthrough coaching program. And some of you are probably like, oh, it's tens of thousands of dollars. I can't do it. No, that's not the way it is at all, because I make it totally doable because I want people to access their positive future. So maybe you're going to book a call with me. Maybe you're going to notice your resentments. You're going to make a choice when you go through a doorway. Okay? But I want this to not be you. Don't let your sand run out. I want you to have the experience where somebody comes to you and says, thank you for making the changes that you made. Okay? I want that for you. When my son said that to me, it made all of my struggles in the last 10 years worth it. because my son noticed. The world is working against you. I'm sorry, but it is. The world is working against you. And until you stand up and do something different, you will only have the ability to be your default. But I want you to be your positive potential. It's time. It's time. Let's step into the unknown together. Let's step into the unknown. I love you guys. Thank you for being here. Thank you for making a positive change. And together, we're going to influence the whole planet. Have a great night.